Dorian Drake stepped out of his black Bentley, his jaw tight as he looked up at the sprawling estate on the cliffs of Monterey. He hated these things, private dinner parties filled with fake laughter and backstabbing smiles, but when your biggest investor demanded your presence, you showed up, no matter how much you'd rather be anywhere else. A valet handed him a glass of champagne before he even reached the marble steps. He handed it back with a curt nod. Not tonight. Inside, the air was thick with expensive perfume and quiet piano music, the kind of atmosphere that begged for secrets. Dorian adjusted his cufflinks platinum, custom-made, and scanned the room full of polished elites. He was used to being the most powerful man in any room, which made it even more annoying that tonight he wasn't here on his own terms. "Mr. Drake, you made it," said Richard Langford, his investor, clapping him on the back. "I wanted you to meet a few people." "The senator's here, and I'll make the rounds," Dorian cut in smoothly. "But first I need a drink." Langford chuckled. "Bars that way. Don't go falling in love with the staff. My wife handpicked the catering team." Dorian didn't laugh. He turned toward the back terrace where servers moved quietly between tables, balancing crystal flutes and silver trays. That's when he saw her. She wasn't wearing the standard catering uniform. Instead, she had on a simple black dress, fitted at the waist, with her hair twisted into a loose bun that somehow made her look even more striking. She was moving between guests with a tray of hors d'oeuvres, not making eye contact with anyone, her expression calm but distant. Dorian's gaze locked on her. She wasn't like the rest of them. There was something about the way she held herself, confident but guarded, like she didn't belong here and didn't care to pretend she did. He moved toward her instinctively, ignoring a senator trying to shake his hand. "Excuse me," he said quietly as she passed by. "You missed me." She stopped, surprised, and turned to face him. Up close, she had deep brown eyes that didn't flinch under his stare. "I didn't think you looked hungry," she said, her voice low but firm. "That's a dangerous assumption," he replied. Her lips twitched, but she didn't smile. "Well, my mistake. Tuna tartare." He didn't look at the tray. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Dahlia. Just Dahlia." He studied her for a moment. "I'm Dorian." "I know," she said, then tilted her chin toward the tray. "Tuna tartare or not?" He took one, but he didn't walk away. "You don't seem like a caterer." She gave a short laugh and glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "I'm not. My sister owns the catering company. One of her servers got sick, so I stepped in. Must be some sister." "She is," Dahlia said, then arched a brow. "You're not really interested in tuna tartare, are you?" "No, I'm interested in why someone like you is hiding behind a tray of appetizers." "That's a strange thing to say." "Maybe. But I've been in rooms like this my whole life. People don't usually look like they want to disappear. You do." She looked at him for a long moment. "And what makes you think you can fix that?" "I don't want to fix it," he said. "I just want to know why." She shook her head softly. "You're used to getting answers, aren't you?" He didn't deny it. "Then tonight's going to be hard for you," Dahlia said, and walked away before he could respond. He watched her disappear into the crowd. For the rest of the evening, Dorian couldn't focus. Not on Langford's introductions. Not on the senator's pitch. Not even on the rare cognac being passed around. All he could focus on was the woman in the black dress who wasn't supposed to be here, who didn't want to be here, but somehow made him feel like he was exactly where he needed to be. When he caught sight of her again near the kitchen doors, he moved without thinking. "You always run off mid-conversation?" he asked, stepping in front of her. "I didn't think there was a conversation," Dahlia said, holding the tray a little tighter. "There is now." "Have dinner with me," she blinked. "You want me to sit down and eat at the party I'm working?" "No," he said. "I want to take you somewhere else after this." She stared at him. "Do you always ask out strangers while they're holding raw fish, only when they're the most interesting person in the room?" Dahlia bit her lip, clearly thinking. "I'm not dating right now." "Then don't call it a date, call it curiosity." She tilted her head. "You don't even know me." "That's the point." She hesitated, then exhaled. "Fine, 1 hour, somewhere with real food." Dorian's mouth twitched. "Done." 2 hours later, they were seated at a quiet little Italian place he had closed early for the night. She didn't know that part, just thought it was lucky timing. He let her believe it. "So, what do you do when you're not impersonating a caterer?" he asked. "I'm a sculptor," she said between bites of pasta. "I make things out of stone, sometimes metal. Mostly commissions, sometimes gallery pieces." He blinked. "You're an artist. You say that like it's a disease." "No, I say that like it makes sense." Dahlia narrowed her eyes. "What do you do, Dorian?" "I'm the CEO of Drake Industries." She blinked. "Wait, that's you." "The aerospace company," he nodded. "So you build rockets and satellites, and I carve stone. That's quite the spectrum. I like balance." She laughed, and for the first time all night her eyes softened. "Why did you really ask me to dinner?" she asked. "Because I haven't stopped thinking about you since I saw you." Her fork paused mid-air. "I don't do this," she said. "I don't meet strangers and go to dinner and whatever this is." "Neither do I." He wasn't lying, something about her pulled at him. She wasn't impressed by his money or his name. She didn't need anything from him, and that made him want her more than he'd ever wanted anyone. "I should go," she said softly, glancing at the time. "I'll take you," he offered. She shook her head. "No." "I'll walk. It's late. I'll be fine." He stood anyway and walked her to the door. Just before she stepped out, she turned to him. "You're not what I expected. Neither are you." And then she was gone, disappearing into the night like smoke, leaving Dorian standing there, still feeling the imprint of her voice in his chest. He didn't know much about her, but he knew one thing for sure: he was going to see her again. 2 days passed before Dorian saw her again. He didn't plan it. He'd told himself he wouldn't. But when his driver turned down the narrow street lined with low brick buildings and ivy-covered galleries, he didn't ask him to stop. The invitation to the private art showing had arrived that morning. Langford's wife sent them out like candy, but Dorian never went to these things. Tonight he did. Inside, the gallery was dimly lit, the kind of place where voices stayed low and wine never sloshed. Sculptures stood on white pedestals in pools of soft light. Most of them were smooth, elegant, abstract. One of them wasn't. It was jagged, unapologetic. A woman's torso, carved from dark marble, her arms reaching out as though clawing her way through stone. The tension in the figure's spine was so real it almost hurt to look at it. Dahlia stood by the far window, arms crossed, watching people watch her work. He didn't go to her right away. He watched her first, the way she kept her chin high even when someone whispered too close. The way she didn't shrink. Then she turned and saw him, her mouth parted slightly, caught off guard. "You came to an art show," she said as he approached, her tone unreadable. "I came to see your work. You didn't even know it was mine." "I do now." She looked away, folding her arms tighter. "This isn't a good time. I'm not here to make a scene. You being here is a scene." He glanced around. "People are here to look. I'm just looking." "Why? Because you didn't give me your number." Dahlia exhaled through her nose. "I didn't think you'd need it." "I didn't." "But I wanted it." She hesitated. "You should go." Instead, he stepped closer. "Tell me about the sculpture." "No, why not?" "Because I carved it for me, not for anyone who builds satellites." Dorian studied her face. "You think I couldn't understand it?" "I think you've probably never had to claw your way out of anything." He didn't respond to that, not because she was right, but because she wasn't. "Dahlia," came a voice nearby. A tall man in a linen blazer approached, smiling tightly. "The gallery owner wants to talk about your next piece. He asked if you had time." "I'll be there in 5, she said. The man's eyes cut to Dorian. "Friend of yours?" "No," she said quickly. He was just leaving. Dorian didn't flinch. "Actually, I'm interested in commissioning a piece." The man raised a brow. "You're a collector." "I'm a client," Dorian said evenly. "Or I could be." "We don't typically take commissions through walk-ins," the man replied, turning his attention back to Dahlia. "I'll let them know you're on your way." Once he was gone, Dahlia turned on him. "Why did you say that?" "Because it's true. You don't get to come here and throw your name around." "I didn't. You just implied you could buy your way into my studio." "No," Dorian said. "I implied I want to see more of you, and if art is the only place you'll let me, I'll start there." For a beat, she said nothing. Then, softer, "Why me?" "That's not a question I answer in crowded galleries." Something flickered behind her eyes. "I'm not some puzzle you can solve between mergers. And I'm not some villain who wants to collect you." She stared at him, her anger cooling just enough for her voice to lower. I don't date people like you. You don't know what I'm like, I know enough. Then let me prove you wrong, her jaw clenched. I have to go, I'll be outside. She didn't answer. Dorian waited on the sidewalk for the better part of an hour. The street had emptied, the night deepening around him when the glass door finally opened behind him. Dahlia stepped out, pulling on a worn leather jacket. She didn't look at him. I don't like games. Neither do I. She started walking. He fell into step beside her. For someone who lives in boardrooms, you're surprisingly persistent. I've never been interested in something I couldn't quantify, until now. She stopped, facing him under the glow of a street lamp. Fine, 1 hour, no driver, no bodyguards. No reservations. Where? You'll follow me. She led him to a narrow alley, then through a quiet side door into a basement space that smelled like clay and steel. Her studio tools hung on the walls. Half-finished sculptures loomed in corners. A massive slab of stone rested in the center, covered in chalk lines. This is me, she said simply. He looked around. It's alive. It's messy. I like messy. She set down her bag on a work table. You don't have to pretend. I'm not pretending. She leaned against the edge of the table, watching him. Do you always chase after women who want nothing to do with your world? No. Only the ones who make me want to leave it. For the first time, her gaze softened not with trust, but with something close to curiosity. You really don't give up, do you? I don't know how. She pushed off the table. If you stay, you work. He glanced at the tools. What are you going to have me do? Nothing important. Just hold the torch. She handed him a pair of gloves and goggles. As she pulled her hair back with a pencil and turned toward the stone, Dorian adjusted the heavy gloves and stepped up beside her. He didn't know what he was doing, not with the tools, not with her, but he knew he didn't want to leave. Not yet. The next time Dorian saw Dahlia, it wasn't in a gallery or a quiet studio. It was at a benefit gala for a children's medical foundation held at a historic estate in Pacific Heights. He hadn't planned to attend until that morning, when he received a call from Langford's office informing him that his presence would secure a matching donation from a hedge fund manager overseas. He walked into the ballroom dressed in midnight blue tailored Armani, nodding to familiar faces, shaking the right hands. But his eyes scanned the crowd for something else, someone else. He didn't expect her to be here, not really. She'd made it clear she wasn't interested in his world. And yet, Dorian, he turned. A woman in an emerald gown beamed at him, a glass of champagne in one hand. He recognized her as Langford's wife, Vanessa. I'm glad you came, she said. Have you seen the centerpiece auction piece yet? The sculpture? His pulse kicked up. Sculpture? Yes, it's absolutely haunting, from a local artist. Apparently she doesn't normally do public commissions, but someone pulled a few strings. Come, she said, already leading the way. You'll want to see this. She guided him to a raised platform in the center of the ballroom, where a single spotlight illuminated a sculpture encased in glass. It was unmistakably Dahlia's. The same raw tension, the same visceral emotion carved into stone, but this one was different. A pair of hands, fingers splayed, cast in bronze and reaching upward from a granite base, one hand smaller, the other larger, intertwined but stretched apart as if being pulled by something unseen. She calls it departure, Vanessa said. It's from a private collection, but she agreed to auction it for the cause. The bids are already over 200,000. Dorian barely heard her. He was already looking across the room, and there she was. Dahlia stood near the back wall, her hair down this time, wearing a charcoal gray dress that draped softly at the shoulders. She wasn't mingling, just watching. He didn't wait for an opening. Is this your idea of avoiding me? He asked as he reached her. Her lips parted, not with surprise this time, but something closer to resignation. I didn't know you'd be here. You donated that piece. It's for the foundation, she said. A friend works with the kids. They needed something with emotional weight. He studied her face, the way her gaze stayed just past his shoulder. I thought you didn't do shows. I don't. This was different. Why? Her eyes flicked to his. Because I lost someone last year, a boy I used to teach at the community center. He was 9, had a heart defect they caught too late. He liked to sculpt with clay, told me once he wanted to build a statue bigger than a house. Dorian's voice dropped. I'm sorry, she nodded. Me too. He didn't know what to say to that. Not because he didn't feel something he did, but because anything he could say would feel too small. "I saw your name on the guest list an hour ago," she said finally. "I almost left." "Why didn't you?" "I couldn't." He waited. "I don't know what this is," she said, folding her arms across her chest. "But it's messing with my head. It's not just your head. I don't need distraction. I can't afford it. I can't promise I won't be one." She gave a short breath that wasn't quite a laugh. "At least you're honest. I want to see you again." "Why?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the buzz of the gala. "Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like I'm performing." She looked at him for a long time, something shifting in her expression. Then she said, "There's a diner across the street. It's open late, no reservations required." He didn't hesitate. "Lead the way." They slipped out through the side entrance, the night air cool against their skin. The diner was nearly empty, lit with flickering neon and smelling faintly of coffee and grease. They took a booth in the back, and Dahlia wrapped her hands around a chipped mug of tea. "I used to come here after late shifts when I worked at the museum," she said. "They always let me stay past closing if I was sketching." "What did you do at the museum?" "Archives, research, cataloging. I thought I'd stay there forever until the funding dried up." "You ever think about going back?" "I don't look back," he nodded slowly. "That's a hard thing to live by." "It's the only way I don't drown." Dorian leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. "I was married once," he said quietly. Dahlia blinked. "We met in college, got engaged young. She died 6 years ago, car accident." "Drunk driver?" She didn't speak, just watched him with a stillness that didn't demand answers but held them. "I built a company to outrun that silence," he continued. "Worked 18-hour days, made deals I didn't care about, built things for governments I didn't trust. But none of it filled the gap. And now," she asked, "now I'm starting to think I can't keep running." The silence between them wasn't awkward, it was real. "I don't need saving, Dorian." "I'm not trying to save you, Dahlia. I'm trying to meet you where you are." Her eyes flicked to his again, as if searching for cracks in his words. She found none. "I don't bring people into my life easily," she said. "I don't walk into people's lives by accident." They sat there, the hum of the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, two people who had nothing in common except the way they both kept trying not to bleed. After a while, Dahlia slid her mug away and stood. "Walk me home." He stood without answering and followed her out into the night. They didn't talk as they walked. She led him past shuttered shops and quiet streets until they reached a building with ivy crawling up the bricks and light spilling from a third-floor window. "This is me," she said, stopping at the bottom of the steps. Dorian looked up. "Do I get to see the view?" "Not tonight." "Tomorrow." She studied him for a moment. "I don't know yet." Then she leaned in and kissed him, not a question, not a promise. Just a moment she couldn't stop herself from giving. When she pulled back, she whispered, "Good night, Dorian." And then she was gone, the door closing softly behind her, leaving him standing there on the street, heart pounding, knowing exactly what he wanted. And exactly how far he'd go to earn it. Rain scattered across the pavement in a rhythm that felt too steady for what Dorian was carrying in his chest. He leaned against the railing outside Dahlia's building, the collar of his coat turned up against the wind. He hadn't meant to come here tonight. But after the board meeting, after another round of noise and numbers, he'd driven without direction until the car stopped in front of the ivy-covered bricks. The third-floor window was dark. He didn't buzz, he waited. 10 minutes passed before the door opened and footsteps echoed down the stairs. When Dahlia appeared, she wasn't surprised. "You're getting good at showing up when I least expect you." "I didn't want to call. I wasn't sure you'd answer." "I wouldn't have," she said, stepping outside. "But I would have wondered why you didn't come." They stood under the awning in silence before she asked, "What happened?" "I told the board I'm stepping back." Dahlia drew in a quiet breath. "From the company, from everything that doesn't matter." She studied him. "Why?" "Because I've been building walls for years, and I didn't realize what I was keeping out until now." Dahlia looked up at the sky. "You ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't picked up that tray?" "I think about it every day. And I probably would have gone home that night and poured a drink I didn't need, answered emails I didn't care about." slept next to silence and called it peace. I don't want to be your escape. You're not, he said. You're the only thing that's ever made me want to stop running. The rain thickened, tapping louder against the awning. Dahlia reached up and tucked a strand of damp hair behind her ear, her expression unreadable. I've been offered a residency, she said. He looked at her. Where? Florence. 6 months, studio space, live-in quarters, a commission from the Uffizi's private collection. Dorian's throat tightened. When? 2 weeks, he nodded slowly. You said you don't look back. I don't, but that doesn't mean I don't feel the weight of leaving. Then don't, she blinked. What? I have a house in Tuscany, just outside Lucca, vineyard on one side, olive groves on the other. It's quiet, private. There's space for a studio. I was never going to live there, not until now. You're asking me to go with you. I'm asking you to let me build something with you, something real. Her voice dropped. You don't even know what that looks like. I do now. She looked away, her jaw tight. I've spent years holding on to things that never held me back, she said. Fear, grief, survival, I can't carry that into something new. Then leave it here, Dorian said. Leave it tonight, I'll take care of the rest. I don't want you to take care of me. I don't want to fix you, Dahlia. I just want to stand beside you. The rain reached them now, slipping past the awning, dotting her shoulders, his coat. She didn't move. I used to think love was something I'd carve out slowly, she said. Like stone, one piece at a time, but this feels like it's already done. He took a step closer. Maybe we were just waiting for the right hands. Her eyes locked with his, and without another word, she reached for his collar and pulled him into her. The kiss wasn't tentative. It was surrender. The kind that came only after resistance had burned itself away. She gripped the front of his coat like she didn't trust the ground beneath her feet. He held her like he'd found the thing he didn't know he'd been missing. When she pulled back, her breath was uneven. If I come with you, it's not because I need a patron. I wouldn't insult you like that. If I come with you, she said again, firmer, it's because I want to see what we could become. He touched her face, rain cooling his fingertips. Then let's find out. They left together that night. 2 weeks later, a black Maserati swept up the gravel road of the Tuscan estate. The villa rose in the distance, green shutters flung wide, the scent of citrus in the air. Inside, sunlight streamed across a long oak table where fresh sketches were scattered beside a half-drunk bottle of Chianti. Dahlia stood barefoot on the terrace, clay dust on her hands, wind teasing her hair as she looked out over the hills. Behind her, Dorian stepped into the light, sleeves rolled, a phone forgotten in his hand. I told Langford I won't be back for at least a year, he said. You think he believed you? I don't care if he did. She turned. You always this reckless, only when it feels worth it. She crossed to him, laying her palms against his chest. You know I'll still leave if this stops being real, I know. And I won't become someone I'm not. I wouldn't want you to. She nodded once, then leaned up and kissed him, slow and deep. That night, under a canopy of stars, he brought out a small velvet box. I didn't plan this, Dorian said, opening it to reveal a ring with a band carved like braided vines. But I know exactly what I want. Dahlia's eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. She never did say it. I want you, he said. All of you, not for a season, not for a year. For whatever life gives us. She took the ring, slipped it on herself, and whispered, then we build it, one stone at a time. And they did. The sun filtered through gauzy curtains as Dahlia stood barefoot in front of the stone hearth, hands dusted with flour. The scent of rosemary and lemon hung in the air, mixing with the low hum of a record player drifting from the living room. Outside, the Tuscan hills stretched wide and golden, olive trees rustling in the breeze. Dorian stepped into the kitchen, still buttoning his shirt, his hair damp from the shower. You're baking, he said, one brow lifting. I had a craving, she replied, brushing flour off her cheek with the back of her wrist. And we had fresh figs from the tree. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. I mean me, you were still asleep. You always get up before me. I used to need the quiet, she said, slicing a lemon. Now I just like it. He watched her for a moment, taking in the easy way she moved. I spoke to the vineyard manager this morning. They want to name the new label after something local. I told them about your sculpture. She paused, knife halfway through the fruit. You didn't. I did, he said. They're calling it terra e fuoco, earth and fire, her mouth curved but not from pride. That's bold. Fitting, though. She slid the lemons into a ceramic bowl. You're not going back, are you, to the company? He shook his head. I signed over daily operations last week. Just like that. It wasn't just like that, he said. It took months, quiet meetings, legal gymnastics, but I knew where I wanted to be. She set down the bowl and turned to face him fully. And you're sure this isn't just a pause? I've never been more sure of anything. The sound of a car crunching on gravel interrupted them. Dahlia wiped her hands and stepped to the window. It's Maria, she said. She's early. Dorian joined her as a silver hatchback rolled to a stop. A petite woman stepped out carrying a large canvas wrapped in linen. She's here for the gallery shipment, Dahlia said. It's being installed in Rome next week. You nervous? Not like before, she said. I used to wonder if people would see the cracks. Now I hope they do. Maria rang the bell and Dorian kissed Dahlia's temple before going to answer it. Later, after the piece had been carefully loaded into the van and Maria had driven off, they walked the vineyard rows together. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the earth. Do you miss the noise? She asked. I thought I would, he said, but I don't, not even a little. You were good at it. I was good at surviving it, he corrected. This is different. She stopped walking. Dorian? Yeah, I'm late, he turned to her. For what? I mean late, he blinked. I took 2 tests, she said, then another one, his breath caught. Are you okay? She nodded, but her eyes filled. I didn't think I'd ever want this, not again, not after watching my sister struggle so much with her son. Not after everything I gave up for stability. But now, he stepped closer, his hand reaching for hers. Now what? Now I want it, she whispered. With you. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as the wind rustled the leaves around them. Then that's what we'll have. She leaned into him, her forehead against his chest. What if I mess it up? You won't, he said. And if you do, we'll figure it out together. They stayed like that until the sun sank fully behind the hills. Months passed in a rhythm that felt like it belonged to them alone. Mornings spent in the studio, Dahlia's belly growing rounder beneath her apron. Afternoons walking the fields, Dorian's hand always finding hers. Evenings curled on the terrace, her head on his shoulder as they watched stars blink into view. Winter softened the hills with mist. When the baby moved for the first time, Dorian had been reading aloud from an old book of poetry. He dropped the book and pressed his ear to her stomach. Stunned into silence, she laughed, brushing his hair back. He likes your voice, she nodded. I just know. I already love him, he said, his voice hoarse. A week before spring returned, they married in the garden beneath the olive trees. No press, no fanfare. Just them, barefoot in the grass, her dress simple and soft, his suit open at the collar. The vineyard staff clapped and tossed flower petals. Maria cried into her hands. They kissed under the sunset with no speeches, no music, just the wind. I never thought I'd wear a ring again, Dahlia whispered as he slid the band onto her finger. I never thought I'd have someone to give one to. Their son was born on a quiet April morning. She held him against her chest, tears rolling silently down her cheeks, and Dorian couldn't move. He just stood there, watching the 2 halves of his world breathe in sync for the first time. They named him Luca, after the town that gave them a second chance. Years later, tourists walked the vineyard, sipping wine from glasses etched with the Terra e Fuoco label. Inside the villa's converted barn, Dahlia's larger sculptures stood on rotating display, open to the public twice a month by appointment only. Her work had traveled to Paris, Barcelona, Tokyo. But she always returned to the same stone table, the same breeze through open shutters. Dorian balanced Luca on his shoulders as they walked back from the vineyard one evening, the boy's hands tangled in his hair. Daddy, do you still build rockets? No, Dorian said. I build dinners now. You're not very good at that. Dahlia appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. He's not wrong, Dorian grinned. I'm good at other things. She arched a brow. Like what? Like loving you. She rolled her eyes, but her smile betrayed her. Come inside. The pasta's ready. He caught her waist as she turned. I still remember the first time you looked at me like that. I still remember the first time you held a chisel wrong. I did that on purpose, he said, just to get your attention. Luca groaned from Dorian's shoulders. You're both weird. We're in love, Dahlia corrected. Big difference. They stepped into the villa as the sun dipped low, casting warm gold across the floor. No noise, no performances, no pasts chasing them, just the life they'd carved out together, one moment at a time. And it was everything they'd never known they needed.